Good morning, maker friends. I hope you're all having an absolutely fantastic day today. I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me over here at a maker studio this morning. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Kerri, and I've got a YouTube channel called Mama Dares DIY. We do a lot of fun and easy and creative stuff over there. So if that's the kind of stuff you're into, you can head on over there after today's live video and check it out. Let's give everybody just a few minutes to jump on here with us. Looks like we've got lots of friends joining us this morning, and I'm super excited you're here. Let me know down in the comments below where you're joining us from. Also, don't forget, let me know if you're joining us live or if you're watching us on a replay. Y'all, I'm going to be using one of my favorite stencils this morning for y'all. It's not a new stencil. It's something that is actually a classic, and y'all, it's no wonder it is because it is absolutely beautiful. I'm going to be using this gorgeous Dragonflies stencil today. Y'all, look at all of the beautiful details on this stencil. But the technique that I'm going to share with y'all today can actually be used with any of our Maker Studio stencils. I'm going to be using this beautiful stencil to upcycle a pickle jar. I admit I'm an obsessive pickle jar collector. I've done lots of fun things with pickle jars, so I do absolutely collect them and save them, and I even have friends that give me their pickle jars too because I absolutely love using pickle jars for projects. So that's enough talking. Let's hop on to our workspace and let's get started, y'all. Okay, y'all, so here's our workspace. You can see I'm going to be using several of our Maker Studio products today, and I'm going to show you how easy they work in unison together to create this awesome upcycle project. If you're just now joining us, we're going to be using this beautiful Dragonfly stencil today. It's big, it's gorgeous, it measures 12 by 18 in total. And y'all, the beautiful thing about this stencil is you can pull out just these little individual dragonflies, or you can use it as an all-over pattern like we are going to be using on our pickle jar this morning. So for the first part of the project, I did have to, off camera last night, go ahead and prep our jar so that it could be drying. But I want to show you how to use this same technique. So we're going to do that on a little bit smaller scale because I definitely want y'all to see how the first part worked. So I'm just going to move our Dragonfly stencil out of the way. Just know that after the first part, we're going to jump back into the Dragonfly. But you can use this same technique on anything at all because we're going to be using some Venetian plaster for this. So I've got my jar here. You can imagine this is our pickle jar if you want to. I've gone ahead and prepped it by cleaning it with my alcohol. Next thing we're going to do is put down our stencil. And if you're using the Dragonfly stencil on your jar, just know that you're going to go all the way around. You're just going to wrap that big stencil all the way around your jar. You want to burnish it in very, very well. The prep work is essential and key to a great outcome. If you get any type of bleeding or anything under your stencil, that means you need to just press a little bit harder and burnish in that stencil a little bit more. I am sort of getting down on the little part where it tapers down on this, so I just need to make sure that it's stuck really, really well. Okay, so next we're going to mix up our Venetian plaster, and I actually still have some mixed up, but y'all, it's very, very easy. You just want to open up your Venetian plaster. You want to put some into a container, and y'all, it only takes a little bit of water, so it's better to add water a little bit at a time. This jar is super tight. So there's what I've already got mixed up from earlier, and you can see your consistency that I have found that works the best. It's going to be thick. You can see this is super thick. It's almost like a super thick pancake batter. So you just want to put a little bit of your Venetian plaster in here, and then you want to add water just slowly, a little bit at a time, until you get this nice thick consistency. And that's it. That's how you mix up your Venetian plaster. Okay, so after we get our plaster mixed up, we've got our stencil onto our glass jar. The next thing that we want to do is to apply our plaster. And when I'm doing this big jar like this, I actually used my big foam dome brush, and I used just a pouncing tapping motion. I wanted to create a lot of that texture. You can see here. That texture is what's going to give it that old world look. And that's totally the look that I'm going for here. I'm not sure if I'm going to get that same texture with just using a paintbrush, but because I'm working on a smaller scale, so you can see this part of the project, I want you to at least see how it works. But your foam dome brush definitely works the best. So this is actually me being a guinea pig on camera for y'all this morning. So we'll find out together if it works the same using a paintbrush. You do want to put it on just a little bit thick if you want texture, which for the look that we're going for, it definitely needs to happen. So next we're just going to pull off, and you've got your Venetian plaster put through your stencil. So now we'll just let this dry, and we're going to come back to our pickle jar. And y'all, you want to take great care of your stencils, and to make sure that you do, you want to go ahead and rinse this off. So I'll just drop this down into a little bit of water so it doesn't dry. And we'll get that washed off as soon as possible. Okay, so after your Venetian plaster has dried for, I like to let mine dry for at least 8 hours. You're going to come back and we're going to do our painting. And this is where the fun part starts. I'll take the jar off. I did want you to see that this actually is a great big pickle jar, but once we're done, it's not going to look anything like a pickle jar. So the first step that we want to do is to take some of our Amy Howard at Home one-step paint. This is the sample color of Ballet White. What I love about the one-step paints is it's exactly like Amy says in the description. It is absolutely one step. And I'm just going to start off with this Ballet White. And I'm just going to dab on my paint. You'd think you're not going to be able to see your stencil, but guess what? Because of the texture that we put on there with our Venetian plaster, you can still see it. Isn't that fun? I'm going to stick my hand inside my jar to make it easier to paint. Now do you see why I had to do some of this beforehand? So this is the color that I'm using. If you're just now joining us, it's called Ballet White. We've already put down a layer of our Venetian plaster last night. And this morning, we're giving it a little bit of color. This technique would work with any type of stencil that Amy has in the collections. So just think, if you live at the beach like me, think of all the nautical pieces that you can do. These would make great candle holders. They would make great planners. There's so many fun things you can do with glass jars. And I'm going to be going in with a couple of different colors. I'm also going to be using some of Amy's gel stain on this project. This gel stain is some of my favorite things. I've got the colors, I've got every single color that Amy makes, because y'all, the gel stains are absolutely fantastic. So we're just going to cover all of our jar with your base color. And you can use any of the colors. Amy's got lots of different colors on the website. And I love that she gives us these in the sample colors and the little sample sizes. That way I can keep just this right size and not have to have big, huge jars. And let's see, I'm gonna blend in what I've already done. just so there's no harsh line. I'm hoping the camera can pick up that texture for y'all. Can you see those dragonflies? Okay, so I'm going to leave this open, but next I'm going to go in with some Serengeti gray. I have a lot of gray and white in my house, and for this one I'm actually wanting to pick up with our chip brush. I don't want it to be perfect. I just want to have a little bit of that color sort of mixed in there. I want to dirty up that Ballet white. If you want it to be a solid color, you can definitely do that too. But solid is so boring. And now you can take your brush, your foam brush, and just sort of dab in those colors. When you're working with your colors, sort of like use a tapping motion and also like a rolling motion. You don't want it to look perfect. You want to really work those colors in so that they blend. And I'm hoping that the camera's picking up all of that nice color. Can you see the different tones and shades? And I'll blend these two in where I've already painted. We want it to be seamless. And it's totally up to you. If you want it to be really nice and crisp white, you can definitely have that look going on for you. But I like it being sort of vintage and old world. Okay. And I admit, sometimes I get carried away and I don't know when to stop with my colors. I just love paint. Paint makes me such a happy girl. And just keep working with it until you get the color and the look that you like. This is your project and your taste may be totally different than mine, but just know that you can take this same technique and you can create something that fits your colors. Okay, so I'm really digging how this looks. Let's go ahead and paint the bottom too, since I've already painted that from earlier. And the great thing about the one-step paints, besides wiping your jar down, you don't have to do any prep work because our one-step paints are going to stick to glass. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the tops on this. We don't want that to dry out. I'll drop this down in my water. And next, I'm going to throw a little bit of our gel stain on this project. Y'all, the Auburn Mahogany is one of my favorite gel stain colors. It's a rich, very, very rich brown, and it is absolutely beautiful. Look at that. And I love stains, but y'all admit I hate the cleanup, which is why that makes me love Amy's gel stain colors. They are so pretty. Okay, now you can apply your gel stain a couple of different ways. You can use a brush, and if you go in with the brush, I'm going to suggest that you get a paper towel and you wipe off most of that paint or the gel stain. You want to go in super light, and ideally you want to wait for this to dry completely. I could break out the blow dryer for y'all if you wanted to listen to the blow dryer run for just a second, but to get this old world look, you want to just tap in some of that gel stain. And it's up to you, again, whether you want a lot of stain or if you want a little bit. But I like to sort of use a dry brush technique. And you just want to tap that on. You can even take your paper towel and you can blend that in. And again, ideally, you want to wait for this to dry before you move on to this stain. But I know y'all don't want to wait here and watch this dry. So we're just moving on. And you're just going to go all the way around your jar until you get the amount of antique on it that suits you. And don't just go all in one row. When you're doing this, you want to sort of go all over. You can also use one of your foam brushes, and that's going to give you a completely different look. So after you go all the way around your jar, if you want to hit some of those pieces, let's see, this is my paint not dry. This is why you want to wait and let your paint dry before you move on. So you want to go all the way around your jar with your gel stain. And now you can see the dragonflies have really popped. You can kind of see them coming through a little bit more, but I want them to pop even more. So for this, I'm going to put a little bit of that gel stain on my paper towel. If you want to add a little bit of water to it, you can do that too. And I just want to hit some of those raised areas, not quite that much, with my gel stain. Whatever parts, this is why we did that heavy texture, because it's going to hit just those parts that are more raised. Isn't that pretty? I can't put it down because it's still wet on the other side. But when you do yours, it will be totally dry because you're not going to do like me. You're going to make sure that you are completely dry before you do this. Isn't that pretty? I'm really hoping that the camera is picking this up for y'all. I may have to actually go in with my paintbrush just so you can see it. The glare is really harsh this morning. That might actually be coming through a little bit clearer for y'all. So you're going to get that subtle look, but because our plaster sets up higher, our stain is going to stick to that. Isn't that pretty? Think of all the different color combinations that you can do with this. I'm really excited to do this on my little light here with my cute little seahorse. I think he's going to be so cute. And again, it's a subtle look. It's sort of an old world look. But it's just a different way that you can seamlessly integrate all of your Maker Studio products together. So once I go all the way around on my jar, I'm actually going to finish the top of my jar off with some rope. And I know we are running out of time, but this at least gives you an idea of some things that you can use your Maker Studio products for by using your Venetian Plaster in your stencils. Isn't that pretty? What do y'all think about this project? What are you going to do with this stencil? Don't forget, if you want the opportunity to win one of these stencils for your very own, be sure to leave your friends' names down in those comments below, and one lucky winner is going to win this stencil. So I've actually got one of these finished that I finished beforehand, so I'm just going to swap this out so you can see what it looks like all finished. Okay, so let's see if I can get a little bit closer to the camera for you so you can see all of those pretty details. Don't you love the subtleness of it? I think it is so pretty. It looks almost like a piece of antique pottery, doesn't it? So I'm going to swap the camera back around to our front view so I can show you a picture of what it all looks like together with our flowers in it. Okay, do you want a closer look at the finished project? I'll be sure to hold it up so you can see it. And all I had to do was to tie a simple rope that I picked up from the Dollar Tree around the top. I put some silk flowers down inside, and y'all, you would never know that this actually started off as a pickle jar, would you? What do you think about this technique? I know it's a little bit different. It's a little bit unexpected. Have you ever tried the Venetian Plaster in your mesh stencils? I would love to know your thoughts down in the comments below. Also, don't forget to let me know, did you watch us live this morning, or are you catching us on a replay? And if you want to win one of these stencils for your very own, just drop a couple of your friends' names down below. That's all we've got time for today, y'all. I've got to run. Until next time, happy DIYing, y'all.